London after midnight was covered in a layer of pale yellow light, reflecting off the signs still lit after the BAFTA awards. The backstage door closed, the laughter gradually faded. Caitriona took off her high heels, leaned slightly against the cold wall, and took a deep breath, as if to wash away the halo that had just clung to her shoulders. A deep voice, so familiar that it made her heart stop, rang out behind her. "You still have the habit of hiding in a quiet place after every party, right?" She turned around. Sam was standing there, still in his perfect black suit, his tie loosened. In the dim light, his eyes seemed to have something both gentle and making people not dare to look at him for too long. "I thought you were back. I also thought you wouldn't come." A strange silence passed. The months of not seeing each other had seemed to have cooled the distance between them, but with just one look, the tension in the air was as tight as a string pulled too far. Caitriona smiled softly, trying to hide her agitation. "We both know how to pretend well, Sam." He moved closer, his warm breath spreading over her shoulder. "Yes, but tonight, I'm tired. I don't want to pretend anymore." She tried to say something, but the words got stuck in her throat. Sam raised a hand and gently brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. Their gazes met, deep and heavy, as if they held everything they hadn't said in months, unsent texts, unfinished calls, moments when they had to look at each other through the lens and pretend nothing happened. Rain began to fall, patter-pat on the nearby glass. Sam chuckled. "London always chooses the right moment to remind us that things are never perfect. Or maybe it knows we're about to say something we shouldn't," Caitriona replied, her voice quieter, trembling slightly. He fell silent. Then suddenly he took a half step forward. The distance was just enough for a breath. "Have you ever thought, if things were different, we wouldn't have to pretend there was nothing between us?" She looked at him, her eyes wavering between reason and memory. "Sam, don't. I know, but seeing you like this, it's hard to." He stopped, not speaking. Instead, his hand lightly touched the back of her hand, a touch that was enough to make everything inside her shatter. In the sound of the rain, they stood there, silent, listening only to their own heartbeats. No one knew who stepped forward first. Only that when the light shone through the glass, their shadows merged into one. Caitriona was the first to pull away. She smiled sadly, her eyes teary but determined. "We both know this can't be, Sam. Everyone's watching." "Not here," he said softly. "Just us. And the truth." She shook her head slightly, then turned away. But as she stepped through the door, his hand caught her wrist, light but enough to make her stop. "Kate, do you remember the last time we spoke our hearts to each other?" She was silent, not turning. Then, in a voice that almost melted into the rain, she replied, "Yes, but that night was like tonight, beautiful, and wrong." The door closed. Sam stood still, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway. Outside, the lights of London reflected off the wet pavement, hazy like the memory of a dream that was never allowed to continue. 3 weeks later. A photo studio in Soho. No rain, but London still had a cold mist that seemed to hold the breath of that night. Caitriona walked into the room, lightly made up, her hair loosely tied, looking both perfect and distant. She didn't need to ask to know, Sam was there. The feeling, though she tried to forget, made her heart ache instantly. He was standing by the window, his back to the outside. Still tall, broad-shouldered, and the way he turned when he heard footsteps, just like that day. Their eyes met. No words. The photographer cheerfully broke the silence. "Great. You two are finally in the same frame. We'll do the reunion photos, natural, like you've never been apart." Caitriona smiled softly, the smile of an actor who was used to hiding all emotions. Sam did the same, but when the camera was on them, that natural thing became a weapon. Every time he leaned closer, she could feel the warmth of his wrist brushing past her, enough to make her heart skip a beat. Every time she smiled, his gaze lingered longer than necessary. Kate, tilt your head a little. Yes, Sam, your hand can be on her shoulder. The photographer instructed, and everything became a silent torture. Caitriona bit her lip. Can you stop looking at me like that? Sam lowered his voice, just loud enough for her to hear. I'm acting, like you. But his gaze wasn't acting. It was so real, it made her want to turn away. At that moment, he whispered. It's been 3 weeks, you still don't want to talk? Is there anything to say? It's just, I don't want that night to disappear like it never happened. Let it be, Sam. She turned away, walking quickly toward the makeup table when the shoot took a break. But Sam followed, his voice deeper, lower, as if trying to keep himself from breaking. Do you think I can forget? I tried, but every time the camera was pointed at me, all I saw was your eyes. She turned back, breathing hard. Don't say things like that. Why? Because you're scared, right? No, because I know we can't believe it anymore. He was silent. There was a silence so long that the faint metallic clank of the studio lights rang out clearly. Then Sam took a step forward, his voice almost breaking. If there's something real between us, just once, just say it. Caitriona looked at him, and in that brief moment, all her defenses collapsed. She exclaimed so softly that only the two of them could hear. I miss you, Sam. No one had time to react. The flash went off. The photographer shouted. Beautiful, the most beautiful moment of the day. Keep that look. Caitriona was startled, moved out of his arms, her face slightly lowered. The whole crew was still absorbed in admiring the photo on the screen. The two of them in the frame, their eyes meeting, full of longing and choking. No one knew that it was no longer an act. After the photo shoot, she hurried out into the hallway, while Sam stood there, his eyes following her as if afraid that if he was even a second slower, she would disappear. He ran after her, calling softly. Kate. She stopped, not turning her head. Have you ever thought that, without the camera, we would still be like this? I think about it every day, he replied, his voice hoarse. She smiled sadly. Then keep it as a role. Don't let it become a wound. She left, walking out into the misty London sky. Sam stood, watching, the smile on his lips slowly fading. He opened his phone, looked at the photo that had just been sent by the photographer, the photo that everyone praised as the most genuine. He gently touched her face in the photo, said softly, almost as a confession. If this is just an act, then I hope I never get out of character. Outside, the London wind blew again, carrying the echoes of the old rainy night, where all the unsaid things still hung between them, never lost. Late at night, London is quiet. Caitriona sits alone by the window, her glass of red wine unfinished. The phone vibrates. Sam Heughan lights up. She hesitates, her heart racing, then presses answer. I know you're awake. His voice is low and hoarse, as if carrying with it a lingering memory. Sam, stop calling. Everything is clear. Clear? I just know, when the camera is off, I can still see you. Caitriona closes her eyes, tears falling softly. You're making things harder. Maybe, but I can't pretend anymore, Kate. A long pause. Then she says, her voice trembling. What if I say, I can't either? On the other side, Sam doesn't answer. There's only his breath, so close, as if passing right behind the screen. Then I'll come right away. Even if it's just to hear you say it once, in real life. She didn't answer, but when she looked outside, the headlights of a car stopped in front of the door. He had really come.